The threat hung in the air like the dust rolling off the old cattle trail. You shave, and I'll kill you. Those words, growled from the depths of a rancher's throat, were not spoken in hatred but in a strange kind of fear of losing the one thing that tied him to his past. Mara didn't understand that yet. All she saw was a towering, weathered cowboy standing in the doorway of the barn, fists clenched, his long beard ruffling in the prairie wind as though it had a will of its own. She had come to the ranch seeking work, any work. She was desperate enough to shovel stalls, mend fences, cook, clean, and pray that the next sunrise brought some form of hope. The ranch was massive, a lonely stretch of dry, golden land. And the owner, Cole Harlow, was even lonelier. People in town whispered about him like he was a legend carved into the land. The man who lost everything, the rancher who never smiled, the one who'll put a bullet in the ground before he lets anyone cross him. But Mara had crossed him without even realizing it. The first morning she found a rusty pair of scissors on the porch rail beside a coffee mug he had just emptied. Thinking she was helping, she had walked into the barn where he stood brushing his horse and said casually, "You know, with a fresh shave, you'd look 10 years younger." She had meant it lightly, innocently, but something in Cole snapped like a dry branch under boot. He spun, eyes blazing, voice cracking like thunder. "You shave, and I'll kill you." The scissors fell from her hand. The ranch fell silent. Even the horses stilled, ears flicking but bodies frozen. The wind seemed to pause mid-gust. She didn't run. Her legs shook, but she held her ground. A man who meant to kill didn't announce it. He moved to the barn wall, removed his hat, pressed it to his chest, and for the first time she saw something break in him. Not rage, not fury, something older, something wounded. "This beard," he muttered, fingers brushing through it, "is the only piece I have left of my brother." Mara blinked, unsure whether to speak or remain silent. Cole rarely talked. She'd been on the ranch 3 weeks and had heard maybe 20 words from him. Now he was offering her more than words, he was offering truth. "He died in that canyon yonder," Cole continued, nodding toward the distant red ridges slicing across the horizon. "Last thing he ever told me was not to shave my beard till we rebuilt this place together." Mara's breath hitched. "And you never did. Can't rebuild alone," he said, voice low, heavy. "So I kept the only promise I had left." Mara slowly picked up the scissors, wiped the dust off them, and set them on a nearby hook. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't know." "Nobody does," Cole muttered. "I keep people out so no one can take anything else from me." She studied him, the bitterness in his shoulders, the grief in the way he stared past her instead of at her. "Cole," she said softly, maybe your brother didn't mean for that promise to trap you." Those words hit him harder than her suggestion about shaving ever did. He stiffened, turned away. "Get to work," he said, voice clipped. But Mara wasn't afraid anymore. She saw past the bark and bruises of his spirit. She understood now that people didn't grow thorns because they were born cruel, they grew thorns because something once crushed them. Over the next days, she worked tirelessly, mending fences, patching roofs, carrying buckets of water, helping him tend the herd. Cole watched silently, always from a distance, but his eyes softened, just enough for her to see small cracks in the armor he'd welded around his chest. One evening, while she gathered firewood, she noticed something strange. Cole was sitting by the corral, staring at a small wooden box in his hands. He only opened it halfway before shutting it again. His jaw trembled. That was the unthinkable part. Not violence, not anger, but vulnerability. A man who had not let himself feel in years, felt. Mara approached quietly. "Is that his?" she asked. He didn't answer. Didn't need to. She sat beside him, and in that moment, the ranch no longer felt like a wasteland of memories. It felt like the beginning of something unexpected, a healing neither of them realized they desperately needed. And though the winds of the prairie still carried his warning, "You shave, and I'll kill you," Mara now understood it was not a threat about a beard. It was a trembling, fragile warning not to take away the last piece of family he believed he had left. She didn't know it yet, but soon, she would do something that would change everything, something even more unthinkable. Mara didn't sleep that night. The ranch house creaked under the weight of old wood and older memories, but her thoughts were louder than both. She kept replaying Cole's expression, the way his rough, calloused hands trembled around that wooden box. She had seen hardened men before, men who carried pride in their boots and anger in their pockets, but Cole's pain was different. It was quieter, deeper, worn down like the leather on his saddle, and she couldn't let it stay buried. Not when it was slowly consuming him. Before sunrise, Mara stepped quietly into the barn and found Cole already awake, as if he'd been pacing all night too. He stood brushing his horse but stopped when he saw her holding something wrapped in a cloth. "I need to show you something," she said gently. Cole frowned. "What is it?" She handed him the cloth. He unfolded it slowly, cautiously, almost afraid of what he'd see. Inside was a small bundle of letters tied with a thin red string, letters she had found tucked inside the rafters of the old guest room while cleaning. "These were never opened," she said. Cole's breath froze. His brother's handwriting flashed like lightning across his eyes. He stepped back as if struck. Where'd you find these?" "In the rafters," Mara replied quietly. "Looks like someone hid them." Cole dropped to a nearby hay bale, fingers trembling as he picked up one letter after another. Each envelope held dust, time, and a truth he'd never known. The letters weren't addressed to him, but to both of them. "He was planning something," Cole whispered, voice cracking. "A new expansion, a new herd, a new house, everything we dreamed of." Mara placed a hand on his shoulder. "He didn't leave you alone. He was fighting to stay, to build with you. These letters prove it." Cole's face crumpled. Not in weakness but in release. Years of guilt fell off his shoulders like old winter snow sliding off a cabin roof. "I thought he died angry," Cole murmured. "Thought he blamed me." "He loved you," Mara said. "Enough to write every hope down so you wouldn't forget." Cole wiped his eyes. The rancher who had once warned her with a deadly threat sat before her now like a man rediscovering the meaning of breath. "Mara," he said slowly, "why'd you bring these to me?" "You could have kept them." "Because no one heals alone," she replied. "Not even the strongest rancher in 3 counties. The sunlight crept across the barn floor, touching the edge of Cole's beard. He stared at it, then at the letters, then at her. And he did the unthinkable. He handed her his pocketknife. Mara blinked. "Cole," he swallowed, voice low. "I'm ready." She shook her head gently. "You don't have to shave it to heal." "No," he said, "but I don't want to hide behind it anymore. My brother didn't want me stuck in grief. I think he'd want me to start over." Mara hesitated. This was not the man who once threatened her with those same words. This was a man choosing to let go. "Only if you're sure," she whispered. "I am." In one careful, symbolic motion, Cole cut a small piece of his beard, just enough to mark a new beginning. He placed it in the wooden box beside his brother's letters. His eyes lifted, lighter than she'd ever seen. "Thank you," he said, almost in a whisper. "For bringing me back." Mara smiled softly. That's what people do when they believe in each other. Together they stepped out of the barn into the bright morning light, ready to rebuild the ranch and their futures, no longer alone, no longer haunted by ghosts of the past. And as the wind carried away the last echo of his old warning, "You shave, and I'll kill you," it carried something new in its place: hope. Renewal. Family. A reminder that even the roughest souls can rise again when someone decides to stand beside them. And dear viewers, if this story touched you, inspired you, or pulled you into the world of the forgotten and the redeemed, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more powerful, emotional stories straight to you. Stay with us, and let's keep this journey alive together.